The red sun of Zarian Prime burned high in the sky as Captain Kim Nari wiped sweat from her face. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. Sand dunes rolled like frozen waves under the harsh light. Everything looked like it was dancing. Nari checked her rifle one more time. Behind her, 4 other humans moved carefully across the burning sand. Sergeant Park Juno walked at her right side. His dark eyes scanned the horizon for any sign of danger. Private Lee Hannah brought up the rear, her weapon ready. The other 2 soldiers, Private Choi Minho and Corporal Song Daeon, stayed alert as they moved. They had been walking for 3 hours. Their mission was simple but dangerous. Find the Vorthok weapon installations and report back to command. The alien empire had built something new on this desert planet. Other species saw humans as weak, soft mammals who died too easily, but humans were cheap to replace, so they got the dangerous jobs. The team moved between tall rock formations that jutted from the sand like ancient fingers. Nari held up her hand to signal a stop. Something felt wrong. The desert was too quiet. Even the wind had stopped blowing. Juno moved up beside her. His voice was low. Nodded she had felt eyes watching them for the past hour. Her instincts told her they were walking into trouble. But they had orders. Find the installations. Get the intelligence. More, they are using some kind of jamming field. Hannah joined them, crouching behind a boulder. Should we call for backup? Nari shook her head. No backup available. We are on our own out here. She looked at her team. These were good soldiers. They had served together for 2 years, each other. But trust would not stop alien plasma bolts. The Vorthax were reptilian creatures. They stood 7 feet tall with thick green scales and long tails. Their technology was advanced. Their weapons could cut through human armor like paper. Their ships could travel between stars in days. They had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had made one mistake. They had attacked human colonies. Now, humanity was fighting back with everything they had. Nari made her decision. If shooting starts, find cover fast. The team moved out again. They climbed over rocky ridges and through narrow canyons. The sun beat down without mercy. Their water supplies were running low. But they pushed forward. Minho spotted them first. Movement on the ridge to our left. Nari looked up. A glint of metal caught the sunlight. Then she saw them. Vorthok soldiers with their distinctive armor and weapons. They had been waiting. Ambush. Take cover now. The words barely left her mouth when the world exploded. Plasma bolts rained down from 3 sides. The Vorthoks had planned this perfectly. Screamed as a plasma bolt hit her chest. Her armor melted and she fell. Minho tried to reach her, but more shots forced him back behind a rock. The air filled with the smell of burning metal and flesh. Juno returned fire with his rifle. His shots hit one Vorthok, but barely scratched its scales. Their armor is too thick. We need bigger guns. Nari rolled behind a boulder as plasma bolts scorched the ground where she had been standing. Surround them, there were at least 10 of them, maybe more. Hannah, can you reach the high ground? She shouted over the noise of battle. Trying to Hannah sprinted between rocks. A plasma bolt caught her leg and she stumbled. She kept moving, but left a trail of blood on the sand. The Vorthoks were closing in. Their weapons were better, their armor was stronger. They had more soldiers. The humans were trapped with nowhere to run. Minho made a desperate charge toward the enemy position. His battle cry echoed off the canyon walls. 3 plasma bolts hit him at once. His body hit the ground and did not move. Juno tried to cover the retreat, but a Vorthok flanked him. The alien was fast, despite its size. Its claws raked across Juno's back as a plasma bolt burned through his chest. He fell forward into the sand. Hannah was still trying to reach cover when an energy net wrapped around her. The Vorthok weapons could capture as well as kill. She fought against the glowing strands, but they tightened with each movement. Bolt ended her struggle. Nari found herself alone. 4 of her people were dead. The Vorthax were moving in for the final kill. She had failed her mission. Another shot hit her leg. She stumbled and fell. Her rifle skittered away across the rocks. The lead Vorthok walked toward her. Its yellow eyes showed no emotion. It spoke in its clicking language to the others, probably telling them the humans were finished. Another easy victory for the Vorthok Empire. More plasma bolts hit Nari as she tried to crawl toward. Her weapon, her armor failed completely. Burning pain shot through her body, blood soaked into the sand beneath her. Her vision started to blur. The Vorthax stopped shooting. One of them kicked her rifle away. They were dead. The leader stood over Nari and spoke into his communication device, reporting success, telling his commanders that the human scouting team had been eliminated. Nari lay still in the burning sand. Blood ran from multiple wounds. Her breathing was shallow. The Vorthax thought she was dead or dying. They began examining the human equipment, looking for intelligence, preparing to loot whatever they could use. The alien soldiers relaxed. They had won easily, just like always when fighting humans. Soft mammals who broke so quickly, the galaxy would be better when all humans were gone. They turned their backs on the bodies, ready to call for pickup, ready to report another victory. They had no idea that 30 seconds later, everything would change, because they had never learned the most important thing about humans. They never learned that humans do not die easily, and they do not die quietly. Time moved slowly in the desert heat. 30 seconds felt like 30 years. The Vorthok soldiers stood with their backs to the bodies. They spoke in their clicking language about how easy it had been to kill the humans. The lead Vorthok, Commander Rjected, picked up Neris' rifle. He turned it over in his clawed hands. Human weapons were crude compared to Vorthok technology, but their commanders wanted to study everything about these mammals. Weak creatures, Rjected clicked to his soldiers. They die so fast, not like the Kelthari warriors we fought last year. Those ones at least fought back for hours. Another, Vorthok Sergeant Veklos, kicked at Juno's body. The Alliance keeps sending them on missions. They must have millions of these humans to waste. Rjected nodded. Good for us. Easy targets mean easy victories. The Emperor will be pleased with our success. But they did not see what was happening. Behind them, in the blood-soaked sand, something was changing, something that would have terrified them if they had known about human biology. Neris' heart had not stopped. It had slowed down to almost nothing. Her breathing was so shallow that it looked like death. But her body was doing something amazing, something that millions of years of evolution had built into every human. Her blood was thickening around the wounds, clotting faster than should be possible. Her body was shutting down everything that was not needed for survival. All energy went to keeping her brain and heart working. Adrenaline started flowing through her veins, not the normal amount that came with fear or anger. This was the deep reserve, the emergency supply that humans only used when death was certain. The chemical that could make an ordinary person lift a car or run through fire. Her eyes opened, just a tiny crack, just enough to see without being seen. The world looked different now, sharper, more focused. Every detail stood out clearly. 7 Vorthax were still alive. 3 were examining equipment. 2 were talking to their ship. 1 was standing guard, but looking the wrong way. The commander was still holding her rifle. Neris' mind started working like a computer. Distance to her sidearm, 3 meters. Time. Needed to reach it, 2 seconds, if she moved fast. The angle of cover from the nearest rock, 45 degrees. Her body inventory came next. Left shoulder damaged, but still working. Right leg bleeding, but bones were solid. Ribs probably cracked, but not broken. She could move. She could fight, but she needed to be smart. 7 against 1 was bad odds, even for a human pumped full of emergency chemicals. She needed to use their mistakes against them. The Vorthax had made their first mistake. They thought she was dead. That gave her surprise. Their second mistake was spreading out too much. They were not covering each other properly. She could pick them off one by one if she was careful. Their third mistake was the biggest one. They had underestimated what humans could do, what humans were designed to do. Neris' ancestors had been hunters, not the kind that waited for prey to come to them, the kind that chased animals across entire continents, the kind that never gave up, the kind that kept coming no matter what. Other species had evolved thick armor, or sharp claws, or poison. Humans had evolved something different. They had evolved the ability to keep going when everything else would quit. Her muscles started to tense. Her breathing stayed shallow, but her heart rate began to climb. The adrenaline was reaching full strength now. Soon she would have to move, or the chemical rush would fade. Commander Rjected was still talking to his soldiers. When we return to the ship, I want a full report. The Emperor wants to know everything about human tactics and weapons. What tactics? Sergeant Veklos laughed. They walked straight into our trap. They fought like animals. No strategy at all. Animals can be dangerous, another Vorthok said. My brother fought humans on Kepler Station. He said they do not surrender. They are dying. Stories, Rjected clicked dismissively. Humans are weak. Look at them. Soft skin. No natural weapons. They cannot even see in the dark properly. Nari almost smiled. If only they knew what was coming. She tested her muscles slowly. Her left arm responded. Her right leg was stiff, but working. Her ribs hurt, but she could breathe. The bleeding had stopped on most of her wounds. Her sidearm was still where it had fallen. The Vorthaks had not bothered to pick it up. They probably thought human weapons were useless toys. That was another mistake. Time to move. Nari rolled slowly. To her right, the movement was small, but it put her closer to the weapon. None of the Vorthaks noticed. They were too busy celebrating their victory. She waited. Patience was part of being human too. Her ancestors had waited hours for the perfect moment to strike. She could wait a few more seconds. One of the Vorthoks moved away from the group. He was walking toward a pile of rocks to relieve himself. That would leave 6 in the main group. Better odds. Rjected was still holding her rifle. He was pointing it at different things, trying to understand how it worked. He had his back completely to her. Perfect target, another Vorthok was kneeling. Beside Daon's body, he was looking through her equipment pack, also not paying attention to the area around him. The guard Vorthok was looking toward the canyon entrance, watching for reinforcements that would never come. He was 20 meters away, too far to be a threat if she moved fast. Nara's hand was now only 1 meter from her sidearm. She could reach it in less than a second, but she needed to time this perfectly. She would only get one chance. The adrenaline was at full strength now. Her vision was crystal clear. Her reactions were faster than normal. Her strength was doubled. Her fear was completely gone. This was what humans were made for. Not standing in lines and following orders. Not building cities and writing laws. Those things came later. First, humans were made to hunt, to survive, to never give up the moment came. Commander Rjected turned slightly to show the rifle to another soldier. The guard was looking away. Others were distracted by their tasks. Nari moved. Her hand shot out and grabbed the sidearm. Her body rolled behind the nearest rock. The movement was fluid and silent, like a predator that had done this 1,000 times before. She came up in a crouch behind cover. The weapon was in her hands, safety off, round chambered, ready to fire. The Vorthaks had not noticed yet. They were still talking and laughing, still thinking the humans were all dead, still making the biggest mistake of their lives. Nara's breathing was controlled now. Her heart rate was steady. The pain from her wounds was pushed to the back of her mind. There was only the mission now, only survival. She looked at the 7 aliens who had killed her friends, who had thought they could murder humans without consequences, who were about to learn that humans were not prey. They were predators, and the hunt was about to begin. Nari steadied her weapon and took aim. Commander Rjected was still examining her rifle with his back turned. He made a perfect target. His thick skull would not stop a bullet fired from this close. She pulled the trigger. The shot echoed through the canyon like thunder. Rjected's head snapped forward. Green blood sprayed across the sand. His body dropped like a stone. The rifle fell from his dead claws. For one frozen second, the other Vorthok stared at their fallen commander. Their minds could not process what had happened. The human was supposed to be dead. They had seen her fall. They had seen the blood. Then Sergeant Veklos screamed a warning. The female is alive. She is shooting. The remaining 6 aliens scattered in different directions, but they were too slow. Humans had evolved to react faster than most creatures. Nari was already moving to her next target. The Vorthok, who had been searching Daon's pack, was trying to reach his weapon. He was fumbling with the safety when Nari's second shot took him through the chest. His thick scales could not stop. Human bullets at close range, 5 left. The guard who had been watching the canyon entrance spun around. His shot hit empty air. Nari came up from behind a boulder he had not seen. Her third shot caught him in the throat. He gurgled and fell backward. His weapon clattered away across the stones. 4 left, but now the surviving Vorthoks were taking cover. They had stopped underestimating the human. Fear was replacing confidence in their yellow eyes. How is she still alive? One of them clicked. Frantically, "We saw her bleeding. We saw her fall." "Impossible," another replied. "Humans cannot survive that much damage." But Nari was not just surviving, she was hunting. Every movement had purpose, every shot was planned. This was what her species had been doing for millions of years, tracking prey, planning attacks, but humans had excellent hearing. Nari heard the scrape of his claws on stone. She heard his heavy breathing. She waited until he was close. Then she threw a broken piece of equipment in the opposite direction. The Vorthok's head turned toward the sound. That was all the opening she needed. Her fourth shot went through his side between two armor plates. He screamed and tried to return fire, but his aim was wild with pain. Again, 3 left. The remaining Vorthoks were truly afraid now. They had lost 4 soldiers in less than 30 seconds. The human was not fighting like the weak mammals they had been told about. She was fighting like something from their worst nightmares. "We need to call for backup," one of them clicked. "This human is not normal." "All humans are like this," the second one replied. "The intelligence reports were wrong. They are not weak, they are predators." The third Vorthok, a young soldier named Kethis, was trying to reach their transport ship. If he could get to the communications array, he could call for help. More soldiers, heavy weapons, air support. But Nare saw him moving. She had been tracking all of them in her mind. She knew where each one was hiding, where they would try to go, what they would try to do. Humans were pattern recognition experts. They could predict behavior. They could think several moves ahead. It came from hunting animals that were faster and stronger. Outsmarting prey was how humans had survived. Kethis made his run for the ship. He sprinted across open ground, hoping his speed would save him. But humans were persistence hunters. They did not need to be faster than their prey. They just needed to be smarter. Nari had predicted his route. She was already aiming where he would be, not where he was. Her fifth shot caught him in mid-stride. He stumbled and rolled, but kept crawling toward the ship. She did not waste another bullet on him. He was wounded and slowing down. He would not reach the communications array. In time to matter. To left, the remaining Vorthoks were pressed against cover on the far side of the canyon. They had stopped trying to attack. Now they were just trying to survive. The human had turned their ambush into her hunting ground. "What do we do?" One of them clicked quietly. "She has us trapped." "We fight," the other replied. "We are Vorthok warriors. We do not run from mammals." But their confidence was broken. They had seen what this human could do. They had watched her kill their comrades with cold precision. This was not the desperate struggle of a dying animal, enough to finish the job. "Really facing." She called out to them in standard tongue. Her voice was calm and steady, not the voice of someone who was supposed to be dead. "You made a mistake," she said. "You thought humans were prey. You thought we were weak." One of the Vorthoks tried to answer, but his voice shook. "You are wounded. You are bleeding. You should be dead." "Humans do not die easily," Nari replied. "We learned to survive things that would destroy other species." She moved to a new position while she spoke. The Vorthoks could hear her voice, but could not pinpoint her location. Sound bounced strangely off the canyon walls. "You conquered the Zentari because they could not adapt fast enough. But humans are different." A rock skittered across the ground near the Vorthok's position. They turned toward the sound, but saw nothing. Nari had thrown it from a completely different angle. She was playing with them now. "And we never forget who hurt us." The two Vorthoks looked at each other. They could hear the truth in her words. For her species, for everyone the Vorthoks had ever killed. "What do you want?" one of them called out. "I want you to understand," Nari replied. "You are not the hunters here. You never were. Humans are the apex predators of this galaxy. We just let other species think they were in charge." She was close now, very close. The Vorthoks could sense her presence but could not see her. It was like being stalked by a ghost, a very deadly ghost with perfect aim. "You killed my friends," she said quietly. "Now you pay for that mistake." The hunt was almost over, and the prey finally understood what they were dealing with. Not a weak mammal, not a dying animal, but something far more dangerous. A human who refused to die. The two remaining Vorthoks pressed their backs against the rocky wall. Their yellow eyes darted left and right, searching for any sign of movement. The human had gone silent after her last words. That somehow made everything worse. Sergeant held his plasma rifle with shaking claws. He was a veteran of 12 campaigns. He had fought the insect warriors of Proxima. He had battled the crystal beings of the Outer Rim, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Where is she?" whispered Private Myth. He was young and had never seen real combat before today. His first battle was supposed to be easy: kill some weak humans and go home. Now 5 of his squad mates were dead. "Stay calm," Veklos clicked back. "She is just one human. She has to be running out of ammunition." But even as he said it, he did not believe it. This human had already done impossible things. Who knew what other surprises she had? The silence stretched on. Minutes passed without any sound except the wind blowing through the canyon. The red sun was moving lower in the sky. Soon it would be dark. The thought of facing this human in darkness made both Vorthok shiver. Then they heard something that chilled their blood, humming. The human was humming a soft tune while she hunted them, like this was all just a game to her. "She is insane," Nethok whispered. "Humans go crazy when they are dying." "No," Veklos said quietly. "She is not crazy. She is something worse. She is calm." The humming was getting closer, but it seemed to come from everywhere at once. The canyon walls echoed the sound until they could not tell which direction it was coming from. Veklos made a decision. "We cannot stay here. We have to reach the transport ship, call for backup, but she will see us if we move. She will kill us if we stay." They looked toward their ship. It was 60 meters away across open ground. 60 meters with no cover. It might as well have been 60 kilometers. "On my mark," Veklos said, "we run together. If she shoots at you, I will shoot at her. If she shoots at me, you keep running." Nethak nodded. His throat was too dry to speak. 3, 2, 1, go. They broke from cover and sprinted toward the ship. Their heavy feet pounded on the rocky ground. Their armor clanked with each step. They sounded like a landslide. The first shot came when they were halfway to the ship. It hit the ground between them, sending up a spray of dust and stone chips. A warning shot. The human could have killed either of them easily. They kept running. The ship was close now, 20 meters, 15, 10. The second shot hit Veklos in the leg. Not a killing shot, but enough to bring him down. He crashed to the ground and rolled. His weapon went flying. Nethak reached the ship and dove behind it. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. He was alive. He had made it, Veklos. He called out, "Are you alive?" A groan answered him. The sergeant was wounded but breathing. He was trying to crawl toward the ship but making little progress. "Leave me," Veklos called. "Get to the radio. Call for help." Nethok looked around the side of the ship. He could see Veklos bleeding in the dirt, but he could not see the human anywhere. She had vanished again. He reached for the ship's communication panel. His claws were shaking so badly he could barely work the controls. Finally, the radio crackled to life. "Command base, this is Patrol 7. We need immediate assistance. Emergency extraction." The radio hissed with static. Then a voice answered. "Patrol 7, what is your situation? The humans are not dead. One of them is still fighting. She has killed 5 of our squad. We need backup now. Impossible. Humans cannot survive that level of damage." "You must be mistaken." "I am not mistaken," Nethok screamed into the radio. "She is hunting us. Send ships, send soldiers, send everything you have. Calm down, Private. Describe your situation clearly." But before Nethok could answer, something cold touched the back of his neck. He froze. He knew what it was without looking. The barrel of a human weapon. "Turn around slowly," Nari said. Her voice was right behind him. "Keep your hands where I can." "See them?" Nethak turned. The human was standing 3 feet away. Her armor was cracked and bloodstained. Her face was streaked with dirt and dried blood, but her eyes were clear and focused. The eyes of a predator. "How did you get behind me?" he whispered. "Humans are good at moving quietly," she said. "We had to be. The animals we hunted had better hearing than us. Better smell, better eyes. We learned to be invisible." She kept the weapon pointed at his head while she reached for the radio with her other hand. "Command base, this is the human you thought was dead." Silence filled the radio. Then the Vorthok commander's voice came through, sharp with disbelief. "This is impossible. Our soldiers reported all humans eliminated." Your soldiers were wrong, Nari said. 5 of them learned that the hard way. The other 2 are about to learn it too. What do you want? I want you to listen carefully. I want you to understand what you are dealing with. Humans are not the weak prey you think we are. She looked at Nethak while she spoke. The young Vorthok was trembling with fear. Sweat was running down his scaled face. We evolved on a death world, she continued. Everything on our planet tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the bacteria. But we survived. We adapted. We became the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. You are bluffing, the commander said. You are one human. Against an empire. I am one human who refuses to die, Nari replied. And there are billions more just like me. We are coming for you, all of us. And we never forget. We never forgive. We never stop. She looked at Sergeant Veklos, who was still crawling toward the ship. Blood was leaving a trail behind him in the sand. Your sergeant is dying, she told Nethak. You can save him. But first, you are going to deliver a message for me. What message? Tell your empire. What happened here? Tell them about the human who would not stay dead. Tell them that this is just the beginning. Nethak nodded frantically. He would agree. Do anything to stay alive. Good, Nari said. Now help your friend into the ship. You are going home, but you are going as my messengers, not as warriors. The tables had completely turned. The hunters had become the hunted, and they would never underestimate humans again. Private Nethak helped Sergeant Veklos into the transport ship. The older soldier was losing blood fast. His leg wound was worse than it looked. Without medical help soon, he would die. Nara watched them from a safe distance. Her weapon was still ready, but she did not feel threatened by these 2. The fight had gone out of them. They were broken. Can your ship still fly? She asked. Nethak checked the controls with shaking claws. Yes, the engines are damaged, but it will get us home. Good, because you have a job to do. She walked closer to the ship. Both Vorthaks flinched when she moved. They expected her to shoot them at any moment, but she just wanted to see their faces when she spoke. Look at me, she said. Really look at me. They looked. What they saw would haunt their dreams forever. A human who should have been dead hours ago. A female who had killed 5 trained soldiers with calm precision. A predator who hunted like killing was the most natural thing in the world. I want you to remember this moment, she continued. I want you to remember that everything you thought you knew about humans was wrong. Veklos tried to speak through his pain. What are you? I am what humans become when you threaten us, Nari replied. I am what happens when you kill our friends. I am what your empire is going to face on every world you try to conquer. She picked up one of the fallen Vorthok weapons. It was heavy and awkward in her hands. Learners, it was another thing that made them dangerous. Your weapons are better than ours, she said, testing the plasma rifle. Your armor is stronger, your ships are faster. But none of that matters. Why not? Nethak whispered. Because humans do not fight fair, we fight to win. We use every advantage we can find. We adapt to anything. And we never give up, she demonstrated by quickly stripping down the plasma rifle. She studied each component for a few seconds, then put it back together. The whole process took less than 2 minutes. Now I know how your weapons work, she said. Next time we fight, we will be ready for them. We will build countermeasures. We will find weaknesses. That is what humans do. Veklos was getting weaker. His breathing was shallow, and his eyes were starting to close. Nethak looked between his dying sergeant and the human who held their lives in her hands. Please, he begged, let us go. We will deliver your message. We will tell them everything, will you? Nari asked. Or will you tell them this was just luck, that I got a few lucky shots, that humans are still weak? Pray no, Nethak said quickly. I will tell them the truth, that they should not be underestimated. And what is the truth? Nethak swallowed hard. The words were difficult to say. His whole life he had been taught that Vorthaks were the superior species, that other races were meant to serve or die. The truth is that humans are apex predators, he said quietly. The truth is that we made a terrible mistake attacking your colonies. Good, Nari said. Now tell me something else. How many human colonies has your empire attacked? 12, Veklos whispered. We hit 12 worlds in the past 6 months. How many humans died? Millions, Nethak admitted. maybe tens of millions. Nari nodded slowly. Her face showed no emotion, but something cold moved behind her eyes, something that made both Vorthax want to run, screaming into the desert. Tens of millions, she repeated. And your empire thought there would be no consequences. You thought you could murder that many humans and we would just accept it. She walked around the ship, examining it from different angles. Both Vorthax watched her nervously. They had no idea what she was thinking. That was almost worse than knowing. Your empire is about to learn something about human nature, she said finally. We remember everything. Every attack, every death, every world you burned. And we will pay it all back with interest. It was not a pleasant expression. It was the smile of a hunter who had cornered her prey. I am not just one human, she said. I am the first. She gestured toward the bodies of the dead Vorthax scattered around the canyon. When word of this gets out, every human in the galaxy will know that we can fight back, that we can win. Your empire just gave us something very dangerous. What? Veklos asked weakly. Hope, Nari replied. Hope that we do not have to be victims anymore. Hope that we can take revenge for our dead. Hope that we can make you pay for what you have done. She checked her watch. The sun was getting lower. Soon it would be dark, and the desert would turn cold. Time to finish this. Start your engines, she ordered. You are going home now, but remember what I said. You are messengers, not warriors. Your job is to tell everyone what happened here. Nethok powered up the ship. The engines whined and sputtered, but they worked. The transport lifted slowly off the ground, stirring up clouds of sand and dust. Nari stepped back and watched them rise into the sky. Soon they would be back on their homeworld. Soon they would be telling their commanders about the human who refused to die. Soon the entire Vorthok Empire would know that they had made the biggest mistake in their history. They had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. They had turned humans from prey into predators, and predators always hunted in packs. The Vorthok transport ship disappeared into the red sky of Zarian Prime. Nari watched until it was just a speck against the burning horizon. Then she turned back to the canyon where her friends had died. She walked slowly between the Bodhis. Park, Juno, Lihanna, Choi Minho, Song Daeon, good soldiers, good people. They had followed her into this death trap and paid the ultimate price. But their deaths would not be meaningless. The message was already spreading. Nari activated her emergency beacon. The signal would reach the nearest human outpost in a few hours. Rescue ships would come eventually, but she was not worried about waiting. She had survived worse things than a night in the desert. She found a comfortable spot between two rocks and sat down to tend her wounds. The bleeding had stopped, but she needed to clean and bandage everything properly. Human bodies were tough, but they still needed care. As she worked, she thought about what would happen next. The two surviving Vorthoks would return to their fleet. At first, their commanders would not believe them. One human killing 5 trained soldiers? Impossible. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that, but the evidence would be undeniable. 5 dead Vorthoks. 1 missing transport. Something had happened on Zarian Prime. Something that changed everything. The story would spread through the Vorthok military like wildfire. Each telling would make it more dramatic. The human who came back from the dead, the predator who hunted. In the desert, the female who refused to die, some would call it propaganda. Others would demand more attacks on human worlds to prove their superiority. But the smart ones would start asking questions. What else did they not know about humans? What other surprises were waiting? Nari finished bandaging her wounds and checked her equipment. Her rifle was damaged, but still functional. Her sidearm had 3 bullets left. Not much, but enough if she needed to defend herself. She settled in to wait for rescue. The desert night was coming, and the temperature would drop fast. But humans were adaptable. The desert became a different world in the darkness. Finally, she heard the sound of engines in the distance. Human engines, not alien ones. The rescue ships had arrived. 3 military transports landed near the canyon. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready. They expected to find bodies, maybe survivors under attack. What they found was something else entirely. Captain Kim Nari sitting calmly beside her fallen comrades. Her wounds were bandaged. Her weapons were clean. She looked tired but alert. And scattered around the canyon were 5 dead "We walked into an ambush," Nari replied simply. "They killed my team. They thought they killed me too. They were wrong." The soldiers looked at the alien bodies with amazement. Vorthax were tough enemies, well-trained and well-equipped. How had one injured human killed so many? "How many were there?" the team leader asked. "7 total. 2 escaped. I let them go." "You let them go? Why?" Nari stood up slowly. Her body was stiff from sitting in the cold, but her eyes were bright and focused. "Because they had a message to deliver," she said. "The Vorthok Empire needs to understand what they are dealing with. They think humans are prey. They think we are easy targets. Now they know that when you hunt humans, sometimes the human hunts you back." The rescue team spent the next hour collecting bodies and evidence. The dead Vorthoks would be studied. Their weapons and equipment would be analyzed. Every piece of information would be used to fight back more effectively. But the real victory was not the dead aliens or captured technology. The real victory was the message that was already spreading across the galaxy. Humans could fight back. Humans could win. Humans were not the helpless prey that everyone thought they were. On the transport ship back to base, Nari wrote her report. She kept it simple and factual. No drama, no exaggeration, just the truth of what had happened. But she knew that the truth was dramatic enough. A human team ambushed and apparently wiped out. 1 survivor who refused to die, 5 alien soldiers killed in revenge. 2 survivors sent home to spread the word. The report would be copied and distributed throughout the human military. Then it would leak to civilian networks. Soon, every human in the galaxy would know about the battle on Zarian Prime. They would know that Captain Kim Nari had shown the galaxy what humans were really capable of. They would know that the species everyone dismissed as weak mammals was actually something much more dangerous. Apex. Predators who had been hiding their true nature. For too long, 3 months later, the effects of that message were clear. Human recruitment was up 300%. Volunteers were flooding into military bases across human space. Young people who had never thought about fighting were suddenly eager to serve. The Vorthok Empire tried to downplay the incident. They claimed it was exaggerated. Vorthok fleets started avoiding human colonies. Their attack patterns became more cautious. The entire galaxy was starting to see humans differently. Not as victims, but as a species that had been underestimated for far too long. And in a small military hospital on Terra Prime, Captain Kim Nari recovered from her wounds. She received medals and commendations. She was promoted and offered her choice of assignments. But what she remembered most was not the praise or recognition. It was the moment when she opened her eyes in the desert sand and decided that death was not an option. The moment when she reminded the galaxy that humans were not prey, they were predators, and they were done hiding.